Hi, welcome back everybody, it's Mike Newton out here at Morecambe Golf Club. Beautiful sunny morning, testing a new product, and it's the TaylorMade Milled Grind 2 Wedge. So we're seeing a raw face, a chrome finish, looks very, very nice. A little bit of technology to talk about in this particular wedge. Going to test it, got a perfect morning here because we've got a little bit of dew on the ground, so we're going to test it in the wet conditions. We've got some rust happening on the face already. GC quad on the floor, we're going to hit some shots, test some data, plus some indoor dry ball data to compare, and we'll see exactly how this Milled Grind 2 wedge from TaylorMade is performing. So just before we jump into the video, if you enjoy the content I'm putting out there and you haven't subscribed, really appreciate you hitting that subscribe button. Just allows me to get more product to you guys early through my reviews. So please hit the subscribe button, ring the bell for notifications of any future videos, be one of the very first ones to watch it as soon as it lands on my channel. So raw finishes on wedges aren't something new, obviously been done for many, many years, but what we tend to see more in the older style of raw wedges was the whole head was raw, wasn't it? The whole head went rusty. You've paid quite a bit of money for maybe 1, 2, 3 possible wedges. Sat in the bag, few weeks time they just look like they've been in there for about 20 years. They look dreadful, don't they? Obviously there's some advantages maybe, and again we've got to test this through the sort of contact, maybe that roughness of the face. I don't know, I think that's quite debatable how much that actually gives you. I'm not fully convinced on that, but I think more for the fact that it just gives you that non-glare look, I think is one of the main reasons why many, probably the tour pros, put these in the bag, just through the aesthetics more than maybe what they're actually going to gain on the actual spin. So I think this is a really good idea from TaylorMade. I think they're onto something here because you're getting that beautiful sort of chrome finish as it sits in the bag, that new look of the wedge, the look that will probably stay like that unless you start digging big holes with these. But then obviously they've got the actual face itself, the hitting area, the grooves, which actually go rusty. So it comes with an airtight sticker on it. So when it's sat in the shop, obviously the face isn't rusting at that point. As soon as you buy the wedge, you peel that off, the air sort of gets onto the club, the moisture, and then the rusting process starts to begin. So this is a wedge that's maybe had a couple of weeks just out in the wet, and you can see the face has gone rusted, but it's got a beautiful sharp lines of where it then hits the chrome, which I think looks absolutely stunning and really frames it. You're putting that down with the golf ball, I think it's a beautiful look. You're getting more of that chrome classic finish, but then you've got that raw maybe look that you might sort of like to see on that actual club face. Okay, so I've got the 56 degree, it's a standard bounce, which is 12. Just going to hit probably about some 80-yard shots here, so like a smooth sand iron for me. We're just going to get some little bit of data. We've got a moist environment here, a little bit of a dewy morning, so the golf balls are pretty dry that I've got. The club face is dry at the moment. Obviously going to be some moisture as I strike it, but then as I strike more and more shots, obviously the moisture is probably going to get involved a little bit more. So putting that down by the golf ball, and I'm happen to be in a certain angle here because obviously it's a sunny day. I'm putting that down, I'm getting pretty blinded by the toe section. So that chrome toe section there is actually very much sort of dazzling my eyes. So I'm struggling to actually see the club face here now. I'm sort of very much blinded by that chrome. So that's probably the disadvantage, and maybe one of the reasons why I said before the tour pros tend to put these in. They're playing in sunnier climates a lot. They don't want to see that glare there, and that is really quite blinding, to be honest. So just 56 degree, 80 yarders. Let's hit some shots. Oh, that's a lovely strike. Glided through the turf beautifully then. Yeah, 93 yards, didn't quite get me 80 there. So TaylorMade saying we've got some very precision milling here, precision milling on the club face, on the grooves. We've got some precision milling on the sole here, so again helping that turf interaction, getting very consistent soles of how it sort of comes through that turf. Very blinding that on that sun, to be honest. That is putting me off a little bit, to be fair. But I'll tell you what, that sounds amazing and feels fantastic through the turf. That was 86 carry, that was a better carry number. Okay, so each time I'm hitting a shot here, a little bit more moisture is gathering on this club face, so it'll be interesting to see how the sort of rustiness or the roughness of the club face is actually creating or maintaining that spin. Fantastic feel, fantastic feel. So I'm just cleaning the grooves between each shot here, just obviously make sure there's no mud getting in there. Just giving it a little bit of a wipe there. Take the grass off, but obviously we've still got that moisture sort of just sitting on that club face. So what else is happening in this wedge that we need to sort of know about? So we've got a little bit more weight happening sort of a little bit higher up the blade. So in the top section of the head, we've got a little bit more mass produce, sort of situation, should I say. So that's higher in the CG in the actual club face. So again, creating a more consistent way the ball comes off from those up and down misses. And we see that happening with quite a lot of the modern wedges nowadays. We've got a TPU insert in the back edge. So this black strip you see just behind the hitting area is like a bit of a rubber substance there. That's helping with dampening of sound and creates a sort of very positive sort of feel. Totally agree with that. I think the sound and the way that ball feels off this club face is absolutely stunning. I think they've definitely got a great feeling wedge here. Beautiful. Feels really good. Yeah, love the feel of that off that club face, bang on that 80 sort of mark there. Okay, so TaylorMade are offering two finishes in this. We've got this one I've got here, which is the chrome one, and then they offer the black matte version, which again, if that floats your boat in terms of the look, then that's that offering is there also for you. Both have the sticker on and obviously that raw club face. So just two very sort of different looks. So maybe from today, what I'm seeing with this glare off this polished section, if that's something that will pretty annoy you in a way out on the golf course, then possibly the matte black is a good option for you to look into, because you'll get less of that shiny sort of glare there. But if you do like it a bit more traditional, then the chrome version is also here for your offering. Yeah, feels absolutely stunning. Okay, right, let's go and look at some numbers a little bit more detail, just with those wedge shots, 80 yard-ish with those slightly damp conditions, and see how this raw MG2 wedge is performing. So just before we have a look at the wet ball data, just wanted to show you the data that I got in the studio. So obviously dry ball data, dry club face, dry golf ball. So you can see there the shots are hit. We averaged around that 8,500 mark. Again, I'm trying to hit that sort of 80 yard sort of pitch there, which I got sort of averaging at 84, so averaging at 8,500 on that spin. So really good sort of spin number there for those not flat out sand iron shots with that 56, just that sort of 80 yard sort of pitch really. So launched at 28.9 as average, spinning 8,500. Okay, so let's look at the data with outdoors with a wet sort of damp club face and golf ball. So we can actually see there a spin number of just short of 9,500 there, which actually is more than what I've got with the dry data in the studio. Now, in my defence a little bit there is an extra 3 yards of carry on average there, 87 yards, where I think I had it about 84 in the studio. So a couple of shots there, you see maybe just spun a little bit more when I got it 92. That's getting my distance control of me trying to hit that 80 yard mark wasn't quite as good maybe outdoors than it was in the actual studio. So obviously a little bit more speed, little bit more spin will bump that number up, but not by 1,000. So that definitely getting a more higher spin there. So you could have an argument that rusty club face is doing a bit of work there. It goes a little bit against what I sort of believe in a little bit in the early in the video, where I sort of said, well, I'm not too sure about whether rusty will actually get any extra spin on the ball or not. Uses exactly the same golf ball, TP5 outdoors as I did indoors. It's just basically these are the numbers that I've sort of produced. So we've seen a launch angle at 30.8, so a couple of degrees higher on that launch, which we've typically seen through a lot of tests with wet ball data. It does tend to just pop the ball up a little bit higher on that initial launch. But this occurrence has actually got more spin in the wet conditions, which is fantastic. So very, very impressive there with the TaylorMade wedge. Okay, so I had a little bit of technical issues just in the roundup section of this video, so hence I'm back in the studio here. But just round up the video with the TaylorMade Milled Grind 2 wedge. I thought it was a really nice wedge. It feels fantastic off the club face, the feel of it. I think that TPU insert creates a lot of or deadens a lot of that vibration, so it gives it that very solid but soft feel as it comes off the club face, and not a lot of sort of vibrations sort of happening through the club. It looks really good in shape wise, sat down by the golf ball, loving the look of it. I like the concept of just the face being raw against that very sharp edges, and then you've got that more that classic sort of chrome satin finish on the back of it, so it keeps that sort of new look for longer. That's probably the big thing I find with the raw wedges when they're all fully raw, is they just look very battered, don't they? Look very old and tatty quite quickly. So I like that. But then maybe the flip side of that, what I saw in the video, when it was sunshine, you know, high sunshine, I did still get that very much of that glare off that toe section, the polished toe section. So if that's something that really sort of puts you off, then this might not be the option, but then the black headed version could be a very good option. Obviously you won't get that glare then from that particular style. So let me know your thoughts. Milled Grind 2 wedge from TaylorMade. What are your thoughts on the raw finish? Is that something that you're quite sort of interested in? Some very interesting spin numbers there. When it was wet, actually increased a little bit more of spin with the wet conditions. So possibly an argument, you know, is that rusty face sort of doing some work, the grooves? Was it more of my strike, etc.? Love to hear your thoughts as always. So comment down below. If you enjoyed the video and you haven't subscribed, please consider hitting that subscribe button. Follow me on social media platforms, both Instagram and Twitter. The handles there are at MN Golf Coach, and hopefully we'll catch up with you all very soon.